You know, all fighters talk trash. As soon as he gets in the ring with me, it is different. I said to Badou Jack that I am going to knock him out. You know me, I am from the Kronk, and at the Kronk gym, we train for the knockout. I am looking for the knockout. That is what I always do. I am not going to change nothing, and I am looking for the knockout. It is very good that he is looking for the knockout too. It is exciting, but the difference is I am an artist, I am a knockout artist, and that's the big difference. Sugar Hill knows Badou Jack very well. I don't need to worry about that. Sugar Hill will take care of it. Badou Jack fought Anthony Durrell. He knows him very well. I will do the same training that I always do. I'm not going to change nothing. He is going to change, but I won't change nothing because I will be going for the knockout. I love knockouts. They are exciting, and Emmanuel Stewart always told me that knockouts sell, and that is what I'm going to do. Don't blink. It is very important that you don't blink. Those are the words of light heavyweight champion, or WBC light heavyweight champion Adonis Stevenson. And as you can hear there, he's going for the knockout. He likes knockouts. Now, we hear fighters talk about knockouts all the time, and sometimes they're bluffing, sometimes they really don't plan on going for the knockout. But when Adonis Stevenson says it, I think we can all believe it, because he is one of those guys who goes for the knockout in every single fight. Now, he don't always get it. Occasionally, he is forced to go the distance, but he'll always go for it early. And in that sense, he is an old school Kronk fighter. Even though he isn't an original Kronk guy or anything like that, he has the old school Kronk mentality, which was to try to go for the knockout. Tommy Hearns was one of Manny Stewart's signature fighters and the Kronk Gym signature fighters, and he really embodied the Kronk mentality. Same with Gerald McClellan. These are guys who will go out there and try to get you out of there as quickly as possible in the early rounds. If they couldn't get you out, especially Hearns, he would settle down into his boxing, but he'd always try and bomb you out in the early rounds. Adonis Stevenson, same thing. Tell me a guy that Stevenson didn't try and knock out early. He tries to knock everybody out early. He'll try to get you out whenever he can, but especially in the early rounds, he's looking for the big left hand, and as soon as he can land it, he's going to try it. So we can believe that he will try to get Badou Jack out of there early. Now, it's a very interesting fight because Adonis Stevenson's 40 years old. He's been relatively inactive compared to Badou Jack, who's been way more active. And Jack has also been fighting a far higher level of opposition. So at this point in time, at this juncture, a lot of people believe that Badou Jack is more ready at this point than Stevenson is. And that Stevenson is maybe slowed down and is past his prime, isn't quite as sharp. Isn't quite as good on his feet as he used to be, so he won't be able to get out of the way of Badou Jack. A lot of people believe this now. And I've broken this down, this fight down stylistically before, but just to recap for those who maybe didn't hear me break it down in those videos, Stevenson is better on the outside than Badou Jack. He's got longer arms. He has better lateral movement and a better back foot game than Badou Jack. We know about his left hand, and it's not only the left hand to the head that Badou Jack has to worry about, because Badou Jack has got a very high, tight guard. He's able to block punches on the outside, because Badou Jack really is best at mid-range and close range. He's not really a long-range guy. He's got a good jab at long range, but not an amazing jab at long range. He prefers to be at mid-range and close range, as we saw him against James DeGale, where he did his best work. When DeGale was on the outside moving around, that's when DeGale was controlling the action. But when it was mid-range and close range, Badou Jack was landing very nice, short, crisp punches and doing a lot of damage against DeGale. So Stevenson's going to be better on the outside. And when he's on the outside, Jack is going to come with that very tight crab-like guard, which could be difficult for Stevenson to penetrate. But Stevenson's left hand is very, very straight. He can shoot it like an arrow. So if there is the slightest gap between Badou Jack's guard, Stevenson will fit his glove through there with a left hand. So he's got to keep that guard very tight, and I think he will. However, it's not only the head, the left hand to the head that Badou Jack's got to worry about. It's also Stevenson's left hand to the body, because he will shoot that long left hand to your chest and to your stomach, and that hurts. Believe you me, I've seen a lot of guys wince under the power of Stevenson's left hand to the body and left hand to the chest. You know, and he'll make you apprehensive, even hitting you to the body and the chest, never mind just hitting you to the head. And as I always say when I mention Stevenson, people say he's a one-trick pony. in the words of Paulie Malignaggi, he may be a one-trick pony, but it's one hell of a trick. You know, that left hand is one of the best punches in boxing. Not just because it's one of the hardest punches in boxing, but because it's one of the most prolific punches in boxing. Name me a fight where Stevenson wasn't able to land his big left hand. He always seems to be able to land it. Against Bellew, against, you know, whoever, against Chad Dawson, Cloud, Fonfara, you know, everybody that Stevenson fights, he manages to land a big left hand, and people are going to say, well, these are not particularly high level opponents. Some of them are decent level. You go look at what Tony Bellew has gone on to do. You know, Chad Dawson at the time was still light heavyweight champion and whatnot. So he's got a knack for landing the left hand. And whether it's to the head or to the body, Jack needs to watch out for that. What I will say is this though, and some people have also mentioned this, and I've mentioned this previously. When Adonis Stevenson fought Thomas Williams Jr., Williams Jr. walked Stevenson down very quickly behind a tight guard, and he tried to draw Stevenson into a dogfight. And guess what? It worked. Stevenson couldn't keep Williams Jr. at the distance he wanted to keep him. Williams was rushing at him, so Stevenson didn't have time to set up his left hand because Williams Jr. wasn't giving him the space and the time to be able to do it. So, and while Williams Jr. was walking him down, Stevenson has got his hands low. So Williams Jr. was able to get into range while Stevenson still got his hands low before he could get his left hand off, and Williams Jr. was landing left and right hooks. You go watch that fight. He was walking right up to Stevenson, getting inside his reach, landing left and right hooks, and had Stevenson on his back foot. It got to a certain stage where Stevenson was like, okay, he's rushing at me. I'm not getting the space that I need. I'm going to need to fight this guy on the inside. There's no other way. I can't keep moving around. I'm an old man. I don't have the legs to move around when a guy's coming at me this relentlessly for 12 rounds. I'm going to have to fight him on the inside and get his respect. And that's what Stevenson did. Unlike a lot of fighters who ply their trade fighting on the outside, people like David Haye, people like George Groves, unlike these kind of guys, Stevenson actually can fight inside. And not only can he fight inside, he's actually really dangerous on the inside. Stevenson is a much better inside fighter than somebody like a Groves or a David Haye, for example. And particularly when you look at Stevenson's early career, before he was with Manny Stewart, there was a lot of his fights where he fought on the inside very effectively and knocked people out on the inside. Even in the late rounds against Andre Fonfara in the first fight, he was fighting Fonfara up close, and he was actually getting the better of it in the very late rounds against Fonfara up close. And the same thing happened with Thomas Williams Jr. You go watch the Williams Jr. fight when Stevenson says, okay, fine, we'll do it your way. You want to fight on the inside? Let's do this. He got the better of it on the inside. Even though Thomas Williams Jr., that's really more his game. I mean, we see him fight like that in a lot of his fights. But against Stevenson, he got beaten at his own game. Stevenson fought him on the inside, was too powerful, was more accurate. That's the thing. Stevenson was actually getting hit with less clean power punches when he fought Williams Jr. on the inside than he was on the outside. Because on the inside, Stevenson keeps his hands up tight and was throwing short little hooks. Even though he's got these ridiculously long arms, Stevenson, he's able to shorten his punches very well, throw right hooks to the body, left uppercut to the head. And he finally finished Thomas Williams Jr. with a wicked short left hand when Williams Jr.'s back was to the ropes. Stevenson came in. It was like a 6 or 7 inch punch, very short punch, delivered it perfectly, and Williams Jr. went down on his face. So Stevenson can fight on the inside when he has to. However, Badou Jack, for my money, is a much better inside fighter than Thomas Williams Jr. Just a much better fighter than Thomas Williams Jr. all round. But Stevenson does have the ability, people, to slug it out on the inside if need be. He's way more powerful than James DeGale. Don't even doubt that for a millisecond. So if Badou Jack is able to walk Stevenson down, avoid the left hand, and force Stevenson into the trenches, Stevenson is still dangerous in the trenches. This is not a guy who really needs to hold you or anything like that. At least not early on, because Stevenson Stevenson's inside game is really his last line of defense. He doesn't like to fight you on the inside unless every other avenue has been exhausted. And then when everything else has been exhausted, then he'll say, okay, we'll fight on the inside. He's still dangerous on the inside. That's not mission accomplished. As soon as you get on the inside against Stevenson, it's game over. No, he's still very, very dangerous up close. Go study him and you'll see what I'm saying. Still very dangerous up close. So this is an intriguing fight to me. I think there's a high probability of a knockout in this fight, especially if Badou Jack is really forcing the action. And in fact, even if Badou Jack don't force the action, I still think there's a very high probability that either one of these guys could get stopped, because of the fact that Stevenson is not a guy who just lets things lie. Even if he's controlling you on the outside and outboxing you, he is compelled to try and knock you out. I mean, look at the Tony Bellew fight. He was controlling things on the outside against Bellew, but did he just try and box his way to a decision? No, he was going for the knockout. Same thing against Fonfara. Even though Fonfara in the first fight went the distance, Stevenson was still looking for the knockout all the way through, including the late rounds where he was slugging it out on the inside. Sakio Bika was a guy who went the distance with Stevenson. Stevenson was still going for the knockout late in the fight. In fact, he dropped Sakio Bika late in that fight. So I think there's a high probability of a knockout in this one. Who am I going to pick? I really don't know, because if this was the Stevenson of 4 years ago, I'd pick Stevenson. I'd say 60-40 in Stevenson's favor. But with Stevenson's age, the fact that he's not been fighting top opposition, and the fact that he's been inactive, it's more like a 50-50 for me now. And I'm really not sure who to pick. I might be slightly edging towards Stevenson still. Maybe 51-49 in Stevenson's favor, but it's very, very tight. As I say, prime Stevenson, I think he beats Jack. In my head, 60-40. But right now, I can't be as confident in picking Stevenson because of the fact of his age, the inactivity, and the poor quality of opposition he's been taking on lately. But let me know what you think in the comment section below about this fight. How do you see it going? How do you see it panning out? Badou Jack has to obviously get on the inside against Stevenson, use his jab, just fight the fight that he normally fights. You know? Fonfara had success against Stevenson in the first fight. Stevenson says he wasn't 100%, and well, we saw what happened in the Fonfara rematch, but I don't think Fonfara was the same guy in the rematch that he was in the first fight against Stevenson, just my opinion. So yeah, Badou Jack needs to fight a similar kind of fight to Fonfara in the first fight. A bit smarter to avoid, Fonfara was hurt by the left hands to the body. If you want to talk about somebody getting hurt by left hands to the body from Stevenson, Fonfara was hurt. So Badou Jack's going to have to watch out for that, man. Like, I cannot emphasize enough how dangerous Adonis Stevenson's left hand is. Don't let him hit you with that punch to the head or to the body. And I know it's very hard to do. But it's all about angles and coming in at the right angles where he's unable to land it, or unable to land it consistently, or understanding the spacing and the distance and timing where you time your attack so that Stevenson's not expecting you to come inside at certain moments and therefore hasn't got the left hand ready, and it may involve, Badou Jack might need to press Stevenson a lot faster than he normally presses people, because Badou Jack is normally quite methodical in the way that he stalks you. He doesn't, there's not a lot of urgency in his stalking, put it that way. He cuts the ring off quite well, but he's not that fast in terms of rushing at you and coming forward. And I think he might need to step on the gas a bit in this fight, because if he gives Stevenson too much space and doesn't close him down quick enough, he's going to be getting hit with that left hand either to the head or body, and it's going to hurt him. So yeah, fascinating fight. Okay, I'm saying 51-49 to Stevenson. I want to see some training footage and see how sharp they're looking. Both of these guys know how to fight. Both of these guys are top level. Both of these guys are elite professionals. So it's going to be nip and tuck, but we'll see what happens. Let me know how you feel in the comment section, people. It's happening. I'm out.